Okay, so imagine this. You build a successful brand, right? You've got this popular beauty cream people absolutely love. Then, out of nowhere, a competitor starts selling a product with the exact same name in the exact same packaging. You'd think, hey, I'm legally protected, wouldn't you? Well, this is the story of Chun Su, and it's $1 million lesson in why having legal protection isn't quite the same as having the right protection. And this is the real head-scratcher. The entrepreneur in our story, Eladad Ko, had official, government-issued copyrights and patents. She had the paperwork. I mean, on the surface, her case looked like a total slam dunk. And yet, she lost. How in the world does that happen? Well, the answer is a super important lesson for really anyone with a great idea. So let's kick things off by meeting our main character and what she thought was her ironclad legal shield. Picture it. The year is 1991. Eladad Ko, who runs KEC Cosmetics, decides to take a competitor to court. She'd seen this other company, Somerville Merchandising, selling a cream with the same name, Chun Su, in a nearly identical container. Now, Ko believes she owned the rights to both. She was holding copyright certificates for the name and the oval-shaped case, and she even had a patent registration. Seemed like an open and shut case, right? But, if it were that simple, we wouldn't be talking about it. This brings us right to the heart of the conflict, where we've got two companies making very, very different claims to the very same product. So this is where the plot really thickens. On one side, you've got Eladad Ko, and she's basically arguing, look, I have the copyright for the name Chun Su and a patent for this oval container. This is my intellectual property. But then on the other side, Somerville Merchandising comes back with a totally different story. They say, whoa, hold on. We're just the authorized importer for the original Taiwanese company that makes this stuff, and they gave us permission. All of a sudden, it's not so clear who's actually in the right here. With both sides completely dug in, the case started this decade-long journey through the court system. And trust me, it was filled with some pretty dramatic ups and downs. The legal battle was, a true roller coaster. At first, things were looking amazing for Ko. In 1992, she gets an injunction, which is a huge win that forces her competitor to stop selling the cream. But then, just a year later, the tables turn completely. The Court of Appeals sides with Somerville. So what does Ko do? She takes her fight all the way to the top, to the Supreme Court, for one final definitive answer. And it's in that final Supreme Court decision where we finally find the answer to the whole puzzle. It all comes down to understanding the fundamental difference between three types of intellectual property. So let's ask it again. Why did the highest court in the land rule against someone who was holding official government registrations? How could they just ignore her patents and copyrights? The reason you'll see is surprisingly simple, but it is a total game changer. That's it. That is the entire reason her case fell apart. It's like trying to use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. Her legal protection, while totally valid on its own, was completely misapplied here. To really get why, we need to take a quick peek inside the legal toolbox she was working with. Okay, first up, we've got the trademark. Just think of the Nike swoosh or the name Coca-Cola. A trademark's entire job is to tell you who made something. When you see that logo or that name, you know exactly where that product came from. Chun Su was a brand name, and its whole purpose was to do exactly that. Then we have copyright. This is a totally different animal. Copyright protects creative works. The actual words in a book, the melody of a song, the paintings in a gallery. It's all about protecting the artistic expression of an idea, not a commercial brand name you put on a jar. And finally, there's the patent. A patent is for inventions. It protects a new process, a machine, or a unique way something works, like the specific tech that makes your smartphone work or a brand new type of engine. It's all about function and utility. So here it is. This is the big aha moment. What was Ko actually trying to protect? A brand name, Chun Su, and its packaging. The right tool for that job is a trademark, but she didn't have one. Instead, she had a copyright. But is a product name an artistic work, like a poem? The court said, nope. She also had a patent, but is an oval-shaped plastic jar some kind of new technical invention? Again, the court said no. She basically had a hammer and a screwdriver, but what she desperately needed was a wrench. So, with this crucial distinction crystal clear, the Supreme Court was ready to deliver its final and very unambiguous verdict. And honestly, you can't get much clearer than this direct quote from the decision. The court essentially said, hey, these legal tools are not interchangeable. Each one has a very specific job, and you cannot use one to do the job of another. This single principle was what decided the entire case. So the court's final ruling really boiled down to three things. First, Ko used the wrong legal tool. Her copyright simply could not protect a trade name. Second, because of that, she couldn't prove what the law calls a clear and unmistakable right to get that injunction to stop Somerville. And finally, the court basically cut through all the other procedural arguments and focused on that one core issue, deciding the case on its actual merits. And all of that leaves us with one final big thought. The story of Eldad Ko is a really powerful cautionary tale. It just goes to show that having legal protection isn't enough. You absolutely have to have the right kind of legal protection. So as you're thinking about your own brand, your product, or your next great creation, the million-dollar question is this: are you sure you're using the right tool for the job?